And welcome everybody to the PCS Like a Pro show. I'm excited for you to join us today as we've got a really great show talking about a very important topic, something that really kind of impacts all of us when we go to PCS and we go looking for that next job or trying to continue our career, and all those resources that can kind of help and assist with that. Before we get into all of that today, I just want to talk really quick about something that everyone that's been PCSing that you should be getting and experiencing, and that is the Customer Service Satisfaction Survey. So this survey, it used to be listed on DPS, and you could go in there, click a link, and fill it out. It now comes to you in a text or email link format. So you should be getting a series of texts or emails from DPS with the links to them. You will get a total of 3 of them. You'll get one that comes to you after your government counseling session, which is just questions on that segment of your move. You'll get a second link sent to you that comes after your packing and pickup days with questions just about your packing and pickup experience. And then your third link will come to you 30 days after your delivery day, and it'll be questions just about your delivery and that experience. It's also important to note that this survey, it's kind of been redesigned, not in just how it gets sent out to families now, but in how we answer questions. So think to like when you go to the doctor and they ask you how you're feeling, and you've got that chart of smiley faces from like, green, you're good, to like red, you're angry. You're using that same kind of method in that customer service satisfaction survey to give your responses. And there's still boxes there where you can fill in comments and give more feedback as to how your experience went for your move. So make sure to fill those out. They do actually mean something. It's not just a check the box item. They do get read by Transcom. They do get read by the transportation service providers. They do impact how shipments are awarded to those transportation service providers as well. So if you had a good move, a bad move, indifferent, make sure you fill out that survey when you get those links sent to you. So again, as I mentioned before, we've got Brian here with Hiring Our Heroes, and we're going to be talking about everything you need to know from Hiring Our Heroes, spouse employment, and the resources available to you when you PCS and you're trying to either continue your career or find a new job, all the stuff that you need to know in regards to that. So Brian, thank you for taking time out of your day today and joining us.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Before I get started, I do want to just thank you for what you do. We PCS back and forth from Hawaii to San Diego several times. Never had any problem, but it was in our final PCS we had a nightmare, and all of the resources that you provided really helped me navigate how to find solutions to all of the problems. And so, thank you for your continued service to our community. It's an honor to know you, and it also very helpful.
Well, thank you for those kind words. I appreciate that.
My name is Brian Alvarado, and I serve as the director of the Military Spouse Program at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's Hiring Our Heroes initiative. And through that work, I direct a team of dedicated professionals who serve our community every day to create opportunities for military spouses for peer-to-peer networking, professional development, and employer engagement. Military spouse employment is a multifaceted challenge. The reasons why our community suffers from a 21 to 24% unemployment rate constantly is not just one reason. So we really try to take a look at it from a multi-pronged approach and find solutions that work for our community.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And such a much needed resource. So you kind of already went ahead and answered my first question of what is Hiring Our Heroes. So we'll go ahead and dive into the second one. So, Hiring Our Heroes has a multitude of events and programs that are geared towards helping spouses find meaningful employment. Can you tell us a little bit more about like the fellowship program and also like how that program works for spouses?
Yeah, the Military Spouse Program at Hiring Our Heroes was developed about a decade ago. And through research and building innovative programs, we found that the opportunity for military spouses to participate in fellowships with American businesses was a great way to introduce the talent that comes from the military spouse community to the American business community at no cost to the employers. So what we did was we took our existing model for transitioning service members, and we built a program specifically for military spouses. So how that operates is a military spouse applies for the program, and they go through a series of professional development opportunities, including Amplify, which is the Hiring Our Heroes military spouse program's premier professional development program. And we get them all polished up and ready to be put in front of employers. And they get matched with employers, and all of our employer partners across the country get a release of all the resumes, and they find matches. And if a spouse is selected for a fellowship, they go through a 6-week long internship program at these companies. They work full time Monday through Thursday at the employer. And then on Friday, they participate in our programming from Hiring Our Heroes, our Friday huddles. And these are additional professional development opportunities, networking opportunities, and a way to report, how it's going, any questions that they have that can get answered on those Fridays. And we have currently a 91% hire rate. That means at the end of the fellowships, 91% of those military spouses are getting offered full-time positions. And that is an incredible number. And I'll tell you, it's not a secret because it's on our website, but it surpasses the percentage of service members through their fellowship program. They're at 86% offer rate, and we're at 91% for spouses. So it's a fantastic program. It is currently in 8 locations around the country, but we are rolling it out in the next few months, looking at hopefully January 1st to be a completely nationwide program.
Yeah, no, that is awesome. And just those statistics of 91% higher rate. And I love hearing that it's higher than veterans. I want to ask you, you probably don't have the statistic about veteran spouses. Those of us that have been prior service, so we're veterans, but now we're also active duty military spouses, and what that success, that higher rate is as well. You can get back to me on it later.
But I can get back to you on that because I know we do have that information. I just don't have it in front of you right now.
Yeah, because I'm just like, if veterans are this and spouses are this, like if I'm both, like surely it's, much more amazing. But no, that's just really great to hear, because we hear all the time about, the issues within our community that we can't find employment, or it's, not the employment we're kind of looking for. You kind of touched on it a little bit in there about some of the other education and networking programs you have, like Amplify. Can you tell us a little bit more about what Amplify is, and then like any other of those education and networking programs that you offer?
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and start with our sort of signature program, and that's the Military Spouse Professional Network. That is what brought me into Hiring Our Heroes, and what has created a safe space for nearly 65,000 career-minded military spouses around the globe. We consider it to be a network of networks because we have locations in and around defense communities around the planet. Outside, really the majority of the larger installations, some of the medium-sized ones, and a few of the smaller ones even. And the purpose of these networks is to provide a soft landing space for military spouses as they PCS into new communities. So, for example, I'm Brian. I've worked in marketing for 15 years. I currently am stationed in San Diego, but I'm PCSing with my spouse to Washington, D.C. I can join the Washington, D.C. Military Spouse Professional Network way ahead of time and say, hey, I'm coming to town. This is my background. Does anybody have any leads? Does anybody have any, ideas around employment within your own organizations that you work for? And the really beautiful thing about this is that we bring our employer partners into the mix here. So we bring that employer engagement. So we offer our employers a chance to come into those networks and talk about their open roles, talk about what they have at the grassroots level in those communities as far as employment opportunities are concerned, or what they have on a global remote level as well. That network also provides a safe space for additional professional development opportunities, as well as that much needed peer-to-peer networking, which, Megan, is super important to us in our community. When we go somewhere new and have to reinvent ourselves every 18 months to 3 years, whatever it may be, having a built-in network of like-minded military spouses is really a special thing. And that's how I got started with this organization. I was a military spouse, volunteer with that network out in San Diego, and started doing that about 9 years ago, and really helped lead the way for that network to grow and to be sustainable before I ended up moving to DC. As my story went, and then I'm becoming a staffer at the chamber. So that's really our signature program that really has a lot of engagement and a lot of opportunity. But when you move into the professional development piece, really Amplify is our 2-day career intensive for military spouses, and it has become such a popular event and program within the military spouse community. We started it 6 years ago, and we used to put on 3 or maybe 4 around the country a year. Next year, my team will do 32. And it's because the demand is so high. We have our cohorts used to be 30 to 35. Now they're 75 to 80. And the outcome and the impact is what's really important. 69.1% of military spouses who attend Amplify have a positive job outcome within 90 days. 82% have a positive job outcome within 180 days. So what that means is if you invest in yourself, the time for you to attend Amplify and really dig in and put the work in to get yourself ready so that you can effectively communicate your career journey and your career destination. If you can effectively communicate that, if you have the polished resume and you know how the ATS systems work and how to overcome those challenges, how to network virtually and ask, the important questions, ask the hard questions, learn how to do informational interviews, you come and you invest in yourself to put that work in. So nearly 70% have a positive job outcome within 90 days and over 80 within 180 days. That is a very powerful outcome and something that I'm very proud of my team and really proud of the military spouses who come and invest in themselves, because we're helping people find the path, stay on the path, and get where they want to be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just as you mentioned, our network, just how powerful our network is. I believe we mentioned it last week when we had Hiba on our show talking about, how to get involved at your areas when you PCS, and just that power of our network, that you don't know what can be done or who you can be connected with by asking a simple question, because guaranteed, somebody who knows somebody that can connect you to who you need to be talking to and, get you the information that you need. We got a couple questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I put in one extra thought? It's just I just want to throw an exclamation point behind what you just said.
Yeah.
It's important to understand and to remember that networking is a lifelong initiative, and it's not just about what you need right now. You're going to get out of your network what you put into your network, and managing those relationships. Your networks need to be open, they need to be diverse, and they need to be deep. People need to know who you are, and they need to know enough about you and want to be a part of your network enough to help you when you need it. So that's really important. Just want to throw that big exclamation point behind what you were saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So a couple questions we got here. One's coming from Dustin here in our comments, who's joining us from Germany tonight. So programs are available for those who are veterans and also those who are spouses, correct?
Which is, if she's talking about Amplify is available to all military spouses. We do have veterans that join us, but the content is really based around the military spouse employment experience. But we have Couples join us. We have dual military join us sometimes. We have service members that are transitioning join us sometimes, and we have an open door. But the content really is, for the most part, around the military spouse experience. But the tools that you walk away with can be used for anybody.
But in the fellowship program, you've got both a spouse and a veteran version of that.
We have actually a couple different. So let me clarify. We do have a corporate fellowship program for service members who are transitioning out of the military, who are within 6 months of their transition. We have a fellowship program that is specifically for military spouses, and by military spouse, I mean anybody who's ever been a military spouse, anybody who's ever had their career affected by being married to or partnered with a service member is included in that. So anybody is included in that. And then we have a couple other specific programs like our Google Career Forward program that puts anybody from the military community, service members transitioning, veterans, military spouses, through training to receive Google certificates in things like IT, user design, digital marketing, and then we have a fellowship program following the completion of those, and that program is open to the entire military community. So there's an opportunity for everybody.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we're going to get the website where you guys can find all of this information, and we'll get it dropped to the comments here for you in just a moment, so that way you guys can be able to go back, look at, and save that link to all of that good stuff. So working in this veteran spouse employment space, can you tell us a little bit about what the data has shown over the last few years in regards to unemployment for our community, and especially that, we hear we're overqualified and underpaid, kind of community as well. And so a little bit of data about what you hear about that as well.
Yeah, for the military spouse community specifically, we have done several military spouse employment flash surveys over the last couple of years, specifically because we wanted to keep a pulse on what was happening to our community through the global pandemic. For the last 10 years, we have done research. The DoD has their active duty military survey. Blue Star Families does a survey. MFAN does a survey. And we're sitting around a 21% to 24% unemployment rate in our community prior to the pandemic. During the pandemic, we saw that shoot up to 38% in some locations. We're starting to see that come down. So the data is telling us that military spouses are getting back to work. The increase in the demand for our programs is also an indication of military spouses getting back to work. But the reality is, Megan, that is, as long as we're moving every 18 months to 3 years, we're always going to have an employment issue. What we can do is try and make it better. And we do that by investing in ourselves as military spouses to understand what is the right path for me, right? Maybe I wanted to be, a zookeeper, when I was a kid, and maybe I even went to college to be a zookeeper, right? But there are not zoos in and around defense communities around the world, right? So maybe if I'm making this decision to marry that, that person in the uniform because they look so darn good in it, maybe I need to jump track, right? Maybe I need to do something that's going to give me the opportunity to have a sustainable career instead of just beating my head up against, a brick wall. So it's twofold here, right? There's the American business community coming together and raising their hand and saying, okay, we understand. We understand that it's not just the right thing to do to hire military spouses, but we understand there's a business case. So we're going to do that, right? We've got this coalition of hundreds and hundreds of businesses that want to hire military spouses and are doing it. But not every job is portable. Not every career can be portable, right? So we're looking at ways that companies can participate through transfers, especially our nationwide companies. Walmart is a great example. And when I say Walmart, I'm not talking about, baggers or checkers. I'm talking about people who work for this company who make it run. Operations, marketing, HR, the whole gambit. And Walmart has an internal program that helps PCS military spouses to keep them employed, even though it's not a remote or portable job. And there's a fine example with JP Morgan Chase of building internal programs to help military spouses stay employed. But we have to do the work, Megan. We have to show up. We have to put our best foot forward, and we have to be open to what the opportunities are that are in front of us. And if we're not ready for them, let's get ready. Go through these programs like the Hiring Our Heroes Career Forward program, getting recertified and learning new skills and getting reskilled and upskilled into a career path that's going to make sense and can be portable. And quite frankly, is going to pay you a lot more than a lot of other industries.
Yes, no, absolutely. I have to laugh for him, and I feel like you're probably like in a camera watching my house, because we had a conversation this morning about with my middle child and being a zookeeper, because the ironicness of it, because one of his friends wants to be a zookeeper, wants to run a zoo, and so my child wants to be like the chef and the like a gourmet chef for these animals, and like a YouTuber assistant for like this zookeeper friend of his. And so I'm just like you've got a camera in my house somewhere listening in. But no, absolutely. So many great points in there about how, we need to be able to go after these things and utilize what's available to us, which I think sometimes we get to the point where we're told, there are resources for you, go utilize your resources. And we start Google searching, and it's just like, well, there are so many, like what is a legit resource and what is like this random crazy looking thing. And sometimes it can feel very overwhelming and daunting when we start going through the list of resources. Like, I don't need a list of 100 resources. I just need to know who the resource is. And so Hiring Our Heroes in the space of spouse employment and even veteran employment is basically, for those watching, is the resource of where you can go to help, navigate that that issue in your life and when you're trying to figure that out.
Yeah, and the really important thing to remember about our programming is we give you a path, right? Mm-hmm. So even the veteran side, the transitioning service member constituent, the military spouse constituency, we serve the military community, and we have built a path for each of those sort of different constituents. So our veterans, our transitioning service members, they go through our Career Connector program. That our Career Connectors help identify what path they need to be on, what resources they need. Do they need to go get their resume worked on? Do they need to have it completely translated out of military speak into civilian terms? Are they ready to go right to hiring events, right? And if they are, we've got them lined up, and we put them on almost weekly, virtually and in person, in and around the country. Do they need more professional development? Are they ready to be reskilled and upskilled into one of these free programs that is only offered to the military community for free?
Free. Hold on. Yes. Pause right there. Free, because that's always a big thing in our community as well, is that there could be all these resources, but it's going to charge you something here and there. Hiring Our Heroes, it's free programs to help you get employment where you can make the money. They're free to you. Absolutely
free. And that includes all of the hiring events, all of the reskilling and upskilling, all of the certificate programs. We've got a program with Salesforce, which is a huge company who I believe is going to have 4 or 5 million open required jobs in the next 5 years. And these are great administrative Salesforce administrator positions. You go through the entire training. You have a whole community of people who are doing it with you and supporting you and cheerleading you on the way, and it's free. And that is what's really important. And that's a $5,000, like to a civilian, that's a $5,000 investment that they have to make to get that training and to get that certification, and it's free to our community.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we dropped the link for Hiring Our Heroes website in the comments. You guys can all go click on there, go surf the site. There's lots of good resources, information about all of the programs, and all the information that you need to know, for those programs when they start, how to get signed up. So it's all right there for you. When we know that we're going to be PCSing soon, many families have in the process of PCSing or about to PCS this year. we know we're going to a place that may require two incomes. Those higher cost of living areas may be something that we're not quite used to. How soon in advance should we start looking for employment, and how soon in advance should we be utilizing the Hiring Our Hero resources when we're in that position?
Yeah, the best answer for that is yesterday. It really truly is. Even if you are employed, and I say this to my own employees, you should
Mhm.
always be looking for what's next. Always be looking to, know what's going to be next in your career. What do you want to do next? But to bring it back to the normal experience of military families PCSing, the reality is that as soon as you know where you're going, you should start making a plan. And sometimes working is not the right decision for your family, for the spouse. Sometimes the timing's not right. Sometimes you're family planning. Sometimes you are going to invest in your education,
Mhm.
and all that's okay. But if you are looking for work, if you want to work, as soon as you find out where you're going, first off, join the Military Spouse Professional Network where you're going. Introduce yourself and start networking with the community. Start putting yourself out there. Be authentic with who you
Mhm.
are. Bring your energy and bring your personality. That's going to be what's attractive to people. Because, like Megan said earlier, the power of our community is in the
Mhm.
network, and it's in our desire to help our fellow military
Mhm.
families. And that is something that I will never, ever take for granted in my life. And it's something that I invest heavily in, so that if I ever do need something, my community will be there for me.
Mhm. Yeah.
So get started immediately. Start making contacts. Start asking questions. Start learning about what the opportunities are in that area. Even if you're 6 months out, right?
Mhm.
You could start doing informational interviews, learning about company cultures, and start targeting and identifying where it is that you really want to be. Obviously, you're not going to want to apply for a job 6 months out because people, when they hit post jobs, they want to fill them for the most part. But you can start getting to know people. I have a friend who I always reference this friend. She's a military spouse, an Air Force spouse, and she works in the medical field. And she is, as soon as they find out where they're going, she is researching every hospital, every clinic, and she's whittling it down to one or two, so that 3 months out, she knows exactly who she wants to target, and search for employment with. But she goes through that every 2 years, and puts the work in ahead of time. And so when we're thinking about PCSing, when we are PCSing, if you want to be employed, if you need or want to be employed, start as soon as you can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you make a great point about joining those professional networks. I'm in a couple of them depending on the locations we've been to, but I've seen where folks have also, when they are vacating a job, they've been given the okay by their employer to post the information in those groups before it goes public to the world. And being able to see that, those positions are usually filled, kind of in-house with that network, with that community. So
Mhm.
definitely well worth joining. Again, the power of our network, the power of our community to be able to provide things to people as well. So similarity with PCSing, we sometimes have that dream job that we do not want to leave and give up because it's like the best thing in the world for us. But we also don't want to be geographically separated from our family as well. So if we are in that position where we're working this dream job and we're PCSing and we believe that we could probably make this position a remote position. I could still do this job 3 time zones away and be just as successful in it as I am now. How should we broach the subject with our employer, and like how far in advance should we be bringing this up and talking with our employer about it?
Yeah, those are great questions, and I'm going to try and break it down a little bit. Um, if you're working your dream job, I'm congratulations. That's amazing. Um, uh, we have to be smart about this though. We have to know whether or not there's a business case to be made for a position to be made remote. Because one, we don't want to set ourselves up for failure. And just because we think that we could do this job remotely, really what's the reality for the company? Do they have a remote work policy? Do they have technology to support remote work? Do they have any concerns around productivity, those types of things? But if you're in a position where you really believe that there's a business case to be made, then you make the business case, and you make it as soon as you possibly can. Give them enough time to build a program, to set you up for success. So you want to give them enough time. If it's not the right thing for that company, then that's a decision you have to make with your spouse and what's best for your family. But broaching this subject with the employer absolutely has to be done in a way that is showing the business case, showing the time, showing them the investment, showing them what your schedule is going to be like, showing them what you feel like you can accomplish. Are there any other things in mind, like time zone changes and all those things that you may need to be available, a few hours in the evening, or if you're going to Japan, maybe a few hours in the middle of the night, whatever it is. And trust me, I have seen military spouses who have weird schedules to keep their jobs, where they get up in the middle of the night for meetings. So it's possible, it's doable, and it has been done. And there is a business case for it, right? Because vacancies and hiring new people is very expensive for companies. But go in there, do not demand anything, number one. And go in there, number two, with the business case. And if it makes sense for the company and they can do it, if you go in there with those two things in mind, you may be successful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know remote work is something that our community has been asking for like ever, it feels like. And then, we had this lovely thing called the pandemic that happened, and we were able to, yes, corporate America, like we can do it. Like we've been asking to do it. Maybe not the best argument to go in and say, hey, boss, listen, we did it during the pandemic, but there's more data and things that you can add to it to show that you can do it and it is worth it with the company. And sometimes keeping you and your experience and, being able to give you a laptop to take home with you is worth it versus trying to hire somebody new and to train them and to, start all over with that as well.
Yeah. And I want to take a moment, if you don't mind, and I want to remind everybody, and this is something I'm very passionate about, and so people hear me say this a lot, but I want to remind everybody that remote work is a location. It is not a job. It is not an industry. It is not a skill set. It is a location. So when you join the Military Spouse Professional Network, or you are putting out into the world that you would be interested in remote work, please don't say, I want remote work. Please tell us what you do. Please tell us what your skill sets are and why you're the best person to be able to do a specific job in a remote setting. Please understand that when you put out to the universe, you want a remote job that you don't ever have to be on the phone or don't have to ever be on Zoom because you have 4 kids at home that you're raising, you're not going to get the answer that you're looking for. Is there an opportunity for you? Yes, and we will help you find it. Whether it's, contract work, 1099 work, where you can work, at night for a few hours, building curriculum for a Freedom Learning Group or something. We've got something for everybody. But the reality is that if you are looking for a job in corporate America, making 6 figures or whatever it is that your goal is, you're going to have to interact with people during the day. And nobody wants a global pandemic, but like you said, we learned a few things. And we've learned how to humanize remote work, so sometimes you're going to see my dog on my couch back here, rolling around, or sometimes, mom's got to take care of the baby. Right. And that's fine. But you have to set yourself up for success in remote work in order for our community to sustain what we've learned and what the American business community is doing to try and keep roles remote. So we have to shine, and we have to make sure that we understand what remote work is, and we have to keep putting our best foot forward in order for it to be an option for us. So I really wanted to just really hone in on that. The audience here, I hope there's military spouses that are taking this to heart. You have got to remote work, understand that it is not a job. It's a location for you to do a job. So when you're asking for it, you have to talk about the work. You have to talk about the industry you're interested in. You have to talk about the job you're qualified for, and that you would like for it to be a remote opportunity.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Being able to set those realistic expectations of what is you can do and what your skill set is versus what, you would desire to do at some point in time. Because trust me, I think we all want that 6-figure corner office job and being able to do it from a beach chair on the beach, with our feet in the Pacific Ocean or something. But that's probably not a realistic thing for a lot of us. We're probably gonna have maybe some version of that, or start off much lower on the totem pole before we get to that point of life of being able to just sit on the beach with our computer and work there. We talked a lot about a lot of things today, a lot of resources, a lot of good information. What else do we need to know about when it comes to spouse employment and relocating that we have not already mentioned?
I think we've done a good job of kind of covering the bases. I would like to mention a couple programs that I would like military spouses to pay attention to. And they are the employer programs. These programs are ways for employers to sign up and market to the military community that they are ready and able and want to hire military spouses. And that is the Hiring Our Heroes Discover the Talent program. We have 468 employers around the globe that are a part of that program, who all go through training to learn about our community, learn about the challenges and delicate issues that face our community, and why we have those challenges, and how can those companies create an inclusive environment to create an opportunity for our community to be successful in employment. And the same goes for the Department of Defense's MSEP, the Military Spouse Employment Partnership. They also have hundreds of employers that have signed up and said, we want to do this. We want to be a part of the solution for military spouses. And MSEP is a program of Military OneSource, which we're all familiar with for those active duty service members and their families. So if you're an active duty spouse or 1 year past your spouse's 1 year past separation, utilize the Military OneSource and their MSEP partnership. Any spouse at any given time, I don't care if your spouse has been separated for 20 years or you're divorced or retired, whatever it is, please, get on the computer, go to Hiring Our Heroes, check out Discover the Talent, and there's a list of employers so that when you go to those employers, you're not going to get a door slammed in your face, and you can self-identify as a military spouse. And the majority of them have internal programs to help create those inclusive and inclusive environments and senses, to give you a sense of belonging. So that, I think, would be how I would like to sort of wrap everything else up and just say that there are employers out there, and the lists are available both on our website at hiringourheroes.org and at militaryOneSource.mil.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I got one more question I wanted to ask to wrap it up. It's a question I ask all military spouses that I have on the program, because I am a firm believer that there is always something that we can learn from each other and always something we can pass on to others. So what is a piece of advice that you would want to pass on to other spouses?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I almost want to just sort of bring up a conversation we've already had today, because I feel like it's pretty much the biggest piece of advice I give to military spouses, and that's about building and maintaining your network. I believe in the power of it. It has changed my entire life. My network has put me where I'm at today, and has given me the opportunity to put other people where they are. and give them opportunity. It's why I'm sitting here talking to you today. It's why once a year, every year, you and I do a shot of whiskey together, at a specific event. It's a tradition you and I have. And it's something, we can go all year without talking to each other, but we know when we see each other at that one specific event, we do that together. And that's something that's really special. And then what happens is when you call me and say, hey, do you want to do my show? Or if I call you and say, hey, Megan, I need something, we're there for each other. And that matters. And it makes a lot of the difference in being successful in the military spouse space, in your employment journey as a military spouse, and just within our community as a whole.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Such good words to end by. I don't think I could have said it any better. So thank you for that. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today and being able to share more about Hiring Our Heroes and those programs and resources that are available to our community.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure, Megan.
Yeah, thank you. And everybody else watching, thank you for joining us as well. We're glad that you took time out of your schedule as well to sit here and to learn about Hiring Our Heroes and those resources. Join us again next week, same time, same place. We're going to be talking to one of my good friends, Vanessa, who recently PCS this summer and had a few kinks thrown into their process and their experience. If you've tried to PCS OCONUS and you have shipped your household goods and then found out you did not clear the EFMP screening and then having to juggle all of that, you're going to want to tune in next week to hear about how Vanessa kind of navigated those waters. Definitely a good, interesting story that you'll want to join us for. So join us again next week for that. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your week. If you're PCSing, we hope it is going as smooth as possible. If you're having any issues, please do not hesitate to reach out. We'll be happy to help guide you to whatever resource you need or whatever contact you need as well to help figure out what it is that's going on. So until then, y'all take care and we'll see you next week.